again, it's Scott here. I've put a video together on how to make a repair to the rear tail light design fault on the W204 C Class sedan. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a problem with the earthing point on the right hand tail light assembly in particular. There has now been a recall notice issued in the US and Canada to repair this problem. Now the recall notice says it's due to a corrosion issue on the earthing pin in the socket of the tail light. I think it's a bit more to it than that. When you look at the size of the wire, the common earth wire that earths all the globes in the right hand tail light assembly, I just think it's under-designed. I think it's too small for the current. I'm surprised my car didn't catch on fire. It's very common for the socket on the right hand tail light assembly to start melting, to get scorched, to start smoking. And to me, it's not acceptable for a car of such expense. I think the Mercedes electronic and electrical engineers need to go and build themselves a room of mirrors and step inside and have a good hard long look at themselves, because this should not have got through. I can't understand it, and I find it quite irritating that something so simple got through their system. So anyway, there's been a recall notice in the US and Canada. There'll possibly be one here in the future, but I don't know about you, but my preference is just to fix the thing myself, and then I know it's done properly. It's a lot quicker and easier just to do it at home. It only takes about 30 minutes at the most, rather than playing around, getting a car to the dealer, getting picked up, go back. You know what it's like. It takes forever. Plus they'll just rush them through at 100 miles an hour, try to do it as cheap as possible, and who knows what they'll get up to. So anyway, I'll show you how I've fixed this problem. Here's the offending particle here, the right hand rear tail light. First thing to do is open the trunk. And then open the compartment on the right hand side. The wire on the left there is the original earthing wire for the right hand assembly. Very small gauge wire. I think that's only maybe 5 amps at the most. And there's the one I put in, the extra one, which is a 10 amp wire. In fact, I've got two 10 amp wires because I replaced this small one here with a 10 amp wire to the same connector, but the actual connectors I think a little bit undersized as well, so I've got a fix to put an additional wire in on top of that. But that is a very thin gauge wire. I've taken the lid off the compartment on the right hand side there to get to the rear of the taillight assembly, so you can see it just there, and I've got the torch shining on it to show you. So there's the backing plate of the rear taillight assembly, there's the socket, and it's the brown wire there on the end, and you can possibly make out a little bit of damage on the end there, a bit of scorching. Now you don't need to remove the taillight assembly to get the backing plate out. There's two little tags that you squeeze in. One of them is just there, pointing to it with my screwdriver, so you squeeze that in like that, and then there's another one up the top just there. So I should be able to put the hand in. Yeah, so that comes out, and I'll take the socket out now. There. So there's the socket, and you can see the damage to it. There's two little connectors there a blue one and a red one that I need to remove, and then I can take the whole thing out of the vehicle. There you go. So I've got it on the bench now, and if you look at this, there's the earthing point there, and you can see the scorching just in there and the melting. As I said, I was surprised it didn't catch on fire. There's the actual pin there. So if I turn this over, there's where all the globes go. So the network of metal here on the base plate of the taillight assembly is the negative side for the globes. So that's the bit that has to be grounded. So just to prove to you, I've got the digital multimeter here set to give me a continuity test. So if I hold one end on the metal there and then touch the offending pin, which is just there, so you can see that's the bit that has to be earthed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder a wire onto here somewhere and then run it through that hole there and connect that to an earthing point on the car. So I'll just take this globe out. So in keeping with the Mercedes wiring colour scheme, they use brown wires for earthing points. So you need to cut yourself about 600 millimetres of brown wire. This is 10 amp. And I'm just going to bare the end, and then I'll bare the other end. Now I've just got a small piece of emery cloth here, just going to roughen that up, just brighten that up, just to get any oxide off. There you can see that's nice and bright. Now with my soldering iron, first thing I'll do is I'll just tin that by putting a little bit of solder on there. Now you need a decent soldering iron for this, probably a 40 or 60 watt. There, so that's taken quite nicely. There you can see there, so I've put a blob of solder on. Right, so that's that done. Now I'm just going to solder that on to there. Right. So that's now nice and secure. Just put my globe back in. Poke that through there. Now we'll go and reinstall it back. So there's the earthing point just there, and what I'm going to do is just solder the end of that brown wire onto there. I think that's easier. I've already tinned the end of the wire. There you go, that's nice and secure. Okay, I have to put these two wires back on here, the little blue connector, and then there's a red one with a larger connector. So there we go, that's just clicked back into place. There's the new wire. So I can plug the connector back in now. Like that. And now I'll just tidy that up. I'll put some cable ties on that new wire. The black cable tie, I've left the rest free, so that if I need to take that plate out to change a bulb, I've got enough room to pull the thing out into the trunk here and then change the bulb. So anyway, that's how I've done it, and we'll try it out now. Here's the left hand side, and this one's in as new condition. The left hand one doesn't normally give problems, but I'm going to do the same modification to this as well, just for good measure. Left hand one, same thing, 600mm of wire, and in this case I've put a connector on the end because there is a spare earth point on the left hand side. So here's the left hand side, just completed that, literally took me 15 minutes. Same thing, 600mm of brown wire, and there's actually a spare earthing point there. So I'll just put a connector on that and bolt it on. It's a 10mm nut. So there you go, I've just put the car in reverse, so the reverse light's on, the tail lights are on, and the indicator's going. There's no smoke, nothing's blown up. That's all working fine. So I don't think I'll have any more problems now. So there you go. Thanks for watching.